Good evening. Welcome to our first live update on Stoney's Kindness Fund. I'm Chris Stone. I'm Stoney's oldest boy. Joining me tonight are my mom and my brother, Sandy Stone and Adam Stone. And we're really excited tonight because our special guest is Andy Markley. Andy
Hey, Chris.
is a
Chris.
yeah.
Chris, hold on. Don't forget your daughter.
Oh, I didn't see her in the background. Hi, Miranda. Miranda's there too.
Like that, Chris. All right now.
Thank you, Adam. And our special
welcome.
guest tonight is Andy Markley. Andy played football at Bucyrus High School, and he was coached by Dad. And so, guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. I really appreciate you being a part of this.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Really, also, I need to thank our donors, those folks who have already made a contribution to Stoney's Kindness Fund. You know, we wouldn't be where we're at today without you, and we are incredibly grateful for your support of the fund. And just want to mention that, you know, obviously our goal with this and any future lives that we do is to raise money to help Bucyrus students. And so in the comments, once the live is complete, we will have the information on how you can give either online or sending a check into the community foundation. So let's just jump right into this. And I think, you know, one of the best places to start is to give everybody, you know, some background information on why we as, you know, a family, mom and Adam and I decided to go down this path and start Stoney's Kindness Fund. So Chuck Stone, or Stoney as many knew him, was a helper. Whether it was coaching football and track at Bucyrus High School or leading a team of volunteers and building the press box at the Bucyrus High School football stadium, you could always find him helping. Upon his untimely passing, many talked about how kind Stoney was to those he met. His students, current and former, teaching colleagues, teammates, and community members who knew him well all agree that Chuck's kindness was something that defined him. Stoney's Kindness Fund was started as a means to help children in the Bucyrus City schools who may be facing similar challenges to those that Chuck faced growing up. The goal of this fund is to provide financial support directly to these children through the Community Foundation for Crawford County and the Bucyrus City schools. Funds, which will be dispersed to the district annually prior to the start of each new school year, will be used to help purchase items like school supplies, clothing, and personal hygiene items. The funds can also be used to help pay class fees, purchase needed sporting equipment, and any other items deemed necessary by Bucyrus City Schools social workers and school counselors to help Bucyrus children succeed. Our goal by the end of August 2022 is to make Stoney's Kindness Fund an endowment fund with the Community Foundation for Crawford County. As I wrote this originally, the fund currently sits at approximately $5,000, and a total of $20,000 in additional contributions are needed to bring the fund's balance to $25,000 and make it an endowment fund. This will ensure Stoney's Kindness Fund will be able to help Bucyrus children for generations to come. So thank you, guys, for indulging me in the background of Stoney's Kindness Fund. And without further ado, I want to turn it over to Andy so that he can share, his story or his favorite memory of his time with Stoney. So, Andy, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So, when you're given the task of come up with one story, it gets to be hard because I think everybody knew Stoney differently. If you were a student in his classroom, you met a slightly different guy than what I might have met as a football coach. And I had an opportunity to kind of see two sides of Chuck. I showed up at practice one day, I think I was a sophomore, and had a pretty good scratch on my arm. And he saw it and he asked what had happened. And I told him that my dad was building a deck off the back of the house, and I was helping, and had caught my arm on a piece of wood. And he had asked if my job was to bring water to my dad. And the joke kind of went zipping past my head because I said, no, I even get to use the saw. And it was like the conversation changed. He went from getting ready to kind of pick to asking me questions. What are you using 2x10s or 2x12s? Are you screwing the deck together? Are you nailing it? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Are you leaving gaps between the boards? Do you guys know what you're doing? I mean, kind of that grill. And as I was answering the questions, you kind of saw him like take a little bit of an exhale. And he was like, I think you guys know what you're doing. But he kind of grabbed me by the shoulder and he said, you better pay attention to what your dad's teaching you, because a man that doesn't know how to build anything is a man who's worth nothing. And I was like, wow, for once I didn't get yelled at. This is awesome. So, it was just kind of one of those little fleeting 3-minute conversations that kind of stuck with me. But if we flip the coin over and we talk about Coach Stone, he had yelled at a bunch of us for, after making a tackle, you put your face in the other guy's face and let him see who did that to him. And I believe it was a preview game because we had officials, and Chuck wasn't normally on the sideline on Friday nights, but he was there that evening. So it made me think it was a preview game. And it was either Britt Miller, the smallest guy on the team, or Cliff Foden, another one of our smaller guys, tackles somebody and crawls up in this kid's face to a point, flag gets thrown. Roddy loses his mind, calls timeout, brings us to the sideline. And he is like, why would you do that? Why do you think that was a good idea? And I believe it was Britt. And he says, Stone told us to do that. And on cue, everybody, including Roddy, looks over and there's Chuck standing there. And Roddy goes, really? Chuck had no clue what was going on. He smiled and gave a thumbs up and then went about his way. And it was just kind of that moment of someone who had no cares to give. And it was like, yeah, that's what we're doing here, boys. Afterwards, he asked us, what was that all about? And I was like, well, you told us to do that after a tackle. And he's like, well, you don't use my name. When you do something dumb like that, you take the lumps and you move on yourself. So, but like I said, how you knew Chuck determined kind of that path of where you intersected with him. And I can say there was probably no one more genuine in my formative years that you could look to that was looking out for your best interests, pushed you hard, also expected you to lift those around you. And for that, I am forever indebted. And I appreciate the time tonight to ramble on a couple of quick stories.
No, Andy, those are stories I don't know, Mom and Adam. I'm sure those are things we've never heard before, right, Mom?
I hadn't, and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Andy.
There's a million other stories that you probably don't know that we might be sworn to some bro code not to repeat. It's just
Hey,
I think when I ran into you one day, I think it was at the Pelican about running into Chuck out at the Y after you were, that just, he just wanted to talk to you and you were scared to death.
yeah.
what happened?
And it was one of those things that going to the weight room was something I absolutely hated anyway. But the fact Chuck was there made it that much more unenjoyable because you couldn't go and just move around a little bit. He expected you full go. And I can remember just trying to do a bench press and that head coming up over the bar, like inches away, yelling the breath. I could tell you what you guys had for dinner that night. I mean, it was just one of those things like, I don't want to be here. And to walk into the Y, normally I'm the only one in there, and that bike is churning in the corner. When I went in and there's Stoney on the bike, I almost peed my pants. I wanted to go home. And he's just like, come on in. And I was like, I don't want to be here. I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And never did. I mean, I was a grown man at that point, 30 years old, and still like, oh, I just want to go to work in one piece. And his workouts would wipe you out. So, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Andy, again, thank you so much for taking time to spend with us today and share a couple of stories. That I think for us, it helps immensely, to hear, we know how dad touched our lives or even, his grandkids, but to hear the impact he's had on, people for years, while he was coaching football or in the classroom or, coaching track or just in the community is, it helps us a lot. And I'm going to speak for mom and Adam and just, man, I know dad loved you guys, all you guys that he coached and played while he was coaching. He loved you guys. And, man, we're grateful. Thank you for taking the time tonight. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for the honor.
All right, folks. So, again, Andy Markley, great stories. Love them. And hopefully we'll get to do this more with, other folks, whether they played football with him, they coached with him, or they're just community members who got to know dad. So, I guess now we're at the point where I do want to provide a live, the update on the fund. So again, to reiterate, our goal is to raise a total of $25,000 before the end of August, which will make this an endowed fund. And the key to the endowed fund is that it will allow the fund to outlive all of us and help generations of Bucyrus students that none of us will ever meet. And so, with that being said, I just spoke with the Community Foundation folks today, and we're sitting at $8,400 in the fund, which is phenomenal, considering that we've really only been, working to raise these funds for about a week. So, again, I can't stress enough how grateful we are, that folks are giving to the fund and to allow us to continue dad's legacy of just being a helper and being kind. And I think, kindness is one thing that, is really important. And unfortunately, I think it's something that through this fund we can start to reinstill in not just our young people, but in our community. So again, don't forget, we're going to have donation information in the comments, for how you can give online, or if you want to send in a check, you can do that too. So with that, I do want to say a huge thank you to Mom and Adam for being here tonight. This is I'm glad you guys could be here. Thank you. Thank you. And of course, Andy, so grateful that you said yes to being on with us tonight and sharing your story about dad. And I have a feeling, I know, as we were going through things right after he passed, there was a story of the Ford Ranger. John Ernsberger shared the Ford Ranger story. That just every time he mentioned it, it made me laugh. But So thank you again, Andy, so much for being here and taking the time.
Thank you.
And finally, I want to thank those who have watched tonight, who have taken the time out of their Friday to spend about 15 to 20 minutes with us, learning more about our dad, learning more about Stoney, and again, those donors, those folks who have already, they see our vision, they believe in what we're doing, and they've already made a contribution. Without you, we can't continue Dad's legacy. So again, thank you all so much for being here tonight. And we will see you with another story and another update next week. Good night, guys.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.